Okay, well today what we're going to be doing is talking about Chapter 1-5, adding and subtracting real numbers. And today's objectives is to find sums and differences of real numbers. And we're still in the prepares for Ch.1-4.2. Okay, so we're at the inverse property of addition. Okay, the inverse property of addition simply states that when you have a number and its opposite, additive inverse, okay, that's also known as an additive inverse, the opposite, the sum of those numbers will be 0. So as you can see, if I take a plus a negative a, I'm going to have 0. Or negative a plus a, I'm going to have 0. Okay, an example of that would be like saying, let me get a different color there, let's go black. 14 plus a negative 14. Okay, it's like I gained $14. I got paid today $14, but then I went out and bought something for $14. Well, how much do I have left at the end of the day? Well, I have 0. Okay, so that's its opposite. Negative 14 is 14's opposite, or is called its additive inverse. Okay, a number and its opposite, the additive inverse. Okay, key concept here, subtracting real numbers. Okay, subtracting real numbers is really just doing adding of real numbers. It's pretty much the same thing. Nothing really changes there. You just call it subtracting. You end up doing adding anyway. It says a minus b. Well, we're going to rewrite that as a plus a negative b. So there you are, you're at a plus a negative b, which these are different signs now. So if you go back to the adding different signs, you end up subtracting anyway. So it's really going to be very, very similar to doing the same thing. Okay, so the first example we have here is 3 minus 5. So because of that, we're going to change that to 3 plus a negative 5. Okay, see how this negative sign's with this 5? It's still with that 5. We're just now making it adding, okay, as those just come together. But now when you look at that, we're saying 3 plus a negative 5. Well, really we have to say 5 minus 3 because we're taking the absolute values. Okay, remember absolute values. Absolute value of 3 is 3. Absolute value of negative 5 is 5. Okay, so we're just taking these and we're putting those together like this. And then we're going to make the large one minus 3. So $5 minus $3, make it like money. You're left with 2. But which one was larger? It was the 5. So therefore it gets the negative sign because that's what was in the original, with the negative was with the 5. So notice that it's really the same thing. So once you're done adding, you can do the subtracting. Okay, over here we have two negatives side by side. That's important. When you have two negatives side by side, it's actually going to make a positive. So when you change this, it becomes 3 plus, and because the two negatives are going to come together, it's actually going to make that a positive 5. Okay, these two right here come together. It's going to give you that positive 5 there. Okay, so now you're actually adding 3 plus 5, which is just 8. So you're just same sign, so you just add them together and keep the sign. Okay, this is probably the toughest one, understanding that those two negatives actually just come together to make the plus sign. You can ask some questions in class about that. Okay, so problem number 3, what is each difference? So we're actually going to work through this. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is simplify. So as we go to simplify, we're just going to work through this. You have negative 8, but then two negatives side by side becomes plus 13. Okay, negative 8 plus 13. Now they're different signs. Now those are different signs. So what we have to do is take it as absolute values. So absolute value of negative 8 is 8. Absolute value of 13 is 13. Okay, after you get the hang of absolute values, you really don't have to write that step out. But now, since it would have been, it's going to be subtraction, we're going to take 13 minus 8. Okay, 13 minus 8. Well, if you have $13, you take away $8, okay, you're going to be left with 5. But go back up to the beginning, okay, -8, +13. The larger one was positive, okay, so this one stays positive. The second one here, we had 3.5 minus 12.4, okay, it's different signs, okay, because what we're going to write is 3.5 plus the negative 12.4. There's your different signs. So adding different signs. Absolute value of negative 12.4 is 12.4. Subtract that from the absolute value of 3.5, which is positive 3.5. Okay, so it just becomes the subtraction there. You should get, after you subtract, 8.9. Okay, when you get 8.9, go back to the beginning. Which one's larger, 3.5 or 12.4? Well, 12.4 is. So it's negative. So that one gets the negative sign. And then here we have 9 minus 9, which is a pretty simple thing. You don't really have to do these steps. 9 minus 9, obviously that's going to be 0. Okay, but if we follow the same steps, we have 9 plus a negative 9, which is additive inverses, which is going to make 0. Okay, really you're doing a ring around there because you're going to make it 9 minus 9 anyway, so you get 0 there. Okay, if you have any other questions, go to sitesgoogle.com, sites SW mathin. Get on the discussion board, post a question, or tweet something to me on Twitter. Have a great night.